Okay, this is exciting. We've got some new hardware to look at. It's an HDHomerun. If you've not come across one of these before, basically this is a television tuner that plugs into your local area network. So, like you might have come across, say, TV tuners that you plug into your computer by USB or something like that. Those are all fine and good and very useful. But of course, when you do that, the tuner is only available to one computer, which is the computer you've plugged it into. The benefit of network tuners such as this, I think the HDHomerun was probably one of the first ones that came to a reasonable prominence, is that by having it on the network, any computer can use it. Obviously, you can't have can't watch 100 different channels at once, but basically it makes it a lot more simple to, say, for example, watch TV on your iPad and say then watch it on your Windows computer and then over to a Mac or something like that. It's something that's available to the whole house, which can be important and can be quite useful because especially in terms of if you've got, say, large aerials or satellite dishes set up. I mean, in this case this is a terrestrial aerial tuner, but you can get satellite network tuners as well. It's handy to just be able to basically put the tuner like in a corner of your room or something, and for then basically you don't have to route the aerials or the satellite cables throughout the house into every room that you want them into. All you need is your network connection, which you can implement in any way via wireless or via home plugs or whatever. Once it becomes part of your local area network, it's much easier to move around and make use of. So this is the new European HDHomerun. There was a version of this which I have got but I can't find, which came out previously. That was designed for, at least in European use, for terrestrial broadcast and also cable. It worked with unencrypted cable channels, which in the UK is not something which is terribly well publicised or really endorsed by anyone. But obviously for terrestrial use, the original HDHomerun was great, very useful, but it kind of fell out of step with broadcast technology, at least in the UK, in terms of the fact that the general or the new HD channels that kind of give the box its name were the one things it couldn't tune into because they were transmitted in a newer transmission format. What you'll see here on the box is that this new version supports DVB-T, which is the old style standard definition services, and DVB-T2, which is a newer format which primarily carries the HD channels. This is the difference between the original Homerun and sort of the new one. The original one could not pick up HD channels. This one can. What that does seem to have come at is the expense of there's nowhere on the box where this mentions any kind of compatibility with cable anymore. So this is a pure terrestrial tuner. That's all it does. And that's fine because, as I say, tuning directly into cable channels via DVB-C, certainly at least in the UK, is very much a fringe activity and not something that is terribly suitable for prime time. It's something that you can do if you're really interested, but it's not something for the man and woman in the street. So let's have a look at this from the good people at Silicon Dust, and as you can see, compatible with Mac and Windows and apparently Linux as well. That'll be interesting. Looks like a wide variety of application support as well, which is good. What else do we have here? Tuners automatically allocated between devices as needed. That's one of the things that is, as I say, really most useful. The fact that, assuming that all the tuners aren't in use, any computer on your network that suddenly decides, I need television, only for a few minutes or whatever, or even a few hours, you can basically say, okay, well, the tuner's on the network, connect to it over that. And as you can see, it connects to a wide range of devices. And I think, again, that's also another one of the developments in this new version, is that it's DLNA compatible, which means it's much more likely that, your console will see it and say, oh, I know what that is, I can do something with that. So that will be interesting. I'll give that a try shortly, but one thing we do need to do first, before we go anywhere, is of course take it out of the box. Actually, what is interesting here is that you can see that that's actually the illustration on the box indicates an F connector, which may be how it's done in other countries, but in the UK it would actually be the wrong connector for a terrestrial antenna. But let's see if I'm going to need some kind of cable or thing to adjust it with. But let's open it. Free broadcast TV. That may be more of a selling point in other countries than in the UK, where free broadcast television is a bit more well established. But you can see this is a tiny thing compared to the size of the original Homerun. This is about half the size. Yeah, as you can see there, it's got the proper UHF type connector there for connecting to an aerial. So the box is a lie. The UHF connector is real. Network connector, that's obviously brings it onto your network. Connector for a power supply, and yes, HDHomerun Connect, HDHR4/2DT. Looks like it takes the same 5 volts DC 1 amp input as the previous version of the HDHomerun did, which is useful because I did have the power supply for my original HDHomerun actually went pop not so long ago, so just replaced it with a generic off-the-shelf power supply, and that was fine. That caused no problem at all. So, but let's see what we've got in the box. We have a quick start guide. Plug it in and go to the web page. That seems fairly simple. There's not really much to it after that. What else do we have here? We have a network cable, which is nice, and a box containing what I presume is a power supply, and that's it. So there's nothing more to this than that. We'll get the PSU out, and it looks actually very much like it's almost exactly the same as the original PSU that I had that went pop. HDHomerun AC adapter. So, nice and simple. Let's get the PSU plugged in. Whoops, not caught round there. Put the power to the unit. See what happens. Any flashing lights? Yes, we have green lights. We will need a UHF connection. Here's one I prepared earlier. Let's get that connected in. Oops. And then all we need to do is plug it into the network. Happily, I happen to have a little red light flashing there. Happily happen to have a network cable available, so let's get that connected. It's a little bit difficult with one hand. There we go. That should stop that red light flashing, hopefully. And there we go. We have power light and two status LEDs indicating 2 tuners. This is a twin tuner unit, of course. Nice. Light on the back has gone green. And that's about as much of the physical unit as we actually need to see anymore, because now it's on the network, it's fine. You know, you can stick this anywhere. You can stick it under the table, on the floor. Let's stick it. So perhaps let's not stick it on the table, because onto the floor, because it flashes its red lights angrily. Perhaps it's doing a software update. I don't know. Why is it flashing the red light? Oh, it's gone green again. Oh, it's happy with that. That's good. Right. Well, famous last words. Let's just plonk this down somewhere in the rat's nest of cables under the desk, and let's see if we can get any kind of purchase from. Well, let's try it on the Mac first. We have, of course, our quick start guide, and that tells us only one thing: follow the instructions on the web page. So let's go to that web page. In fact, my HDHomerun.com, and see what it tells us. Look at that. Wow, it's already tuned itself in. Install software and upgrade firmware. This is rather clever. There's obviously quite a lot going on here. Xbox 360. Wow. Well, actually, that's for the fun of it. Let's see what it says about the Xbox 360. All right, for the 360, it suggests you set it up as a Windows Media Center extender. I could talk for hours about that, but that's fine. Okay, we'll come back to that. We have software for Windows and software for Mac OS. perhaps I'm going to cheat here, because I have the old version of the HDHomerun drivers already installed. So, just on a complete whim, let's see if Elgato's ITV software works with it. Now, you may say to me, like, you're an idiot. Why on earth do you expect that to work? And you could be right in that. There could be something to say. But as it turns out, the ITV is an amazingly flexible piece of software. And it does actually no, preferences is not what I want. But as you can see, you look down here, you see nothing at all. That's not the best example. There you go, look, HDHomerun. Now, why is that there? There must be some reason for that. So, let's see if we can get this working actually in something of a ghetto fashion, and just play with the software that I've already got installed. So, it doesn't see Silicon Dust as a manufacturer, that's fine, but it definitely mentions HDHomerun as if it were a product which was made by Elgato. Begin by connecting an antenna. Yes, I've done that. Plug in the Homerun. Well, it's found the device ID already. It knows that they're both antennas. Now, that obviously is an image of the old HDHomerun. Ignore the video going on here, by the way. This is actually from another network tuner, so don't worry about that. DVB-T. Okay, no, I think we know that box only does DVB-T, so let's let it auto-tune. What's advanced? Yeah, let's let it auto-tune and see if it does anything exciting. I don't know, 29 channels total. Well, that's probably a bit less than I was expecting, but let's see what happens. Let's just see what happens. So, where are the channels? Right, that's only picked up a couple of multiplexes. Nonetheless, that's a good enough example to see if it works. Let's go pick up Dave here. Actually, this is I didn't know ITV could do this, but you can see this is coming off a satellite network tuner. This is coming off the HDHomerun from a terrestrial signal. So, yeah, that looks good. Oh, it worked. It's got subtitles as well. So, well, in the face of it, for a demonstration of a piece of software that wasn't even that had been written like long before this particular HDHomerun box actually existed, it's good that seems to be working. That's not bad. Can't argue with that at all. So, having enjoyed ourselves there, let's see what the official suggestion is for a real HDHomerun software on the Mac. It tells us to download it. I'll just quit ITV for the moment. Let's bring that down. A nice little package file. Install it on there. It's doing a firmware update, apparently over Telnet. That's exciting. So what was the firmware? 2015-0505, and it's updated to 2015-0615. So that's about a week ago. That's not bad. Can't argue with that. You can close this window now. Close that. Close that. Don't need that anymore. And I assume the HDHomerun utilities will be around here somewhere. Right. That's the one on the left is the old one. That's what we used for the original one. The one on the right is the new one, just installed. Let's see what it does. Let's refresh this as well while we're here, see if it recognises the firmware any better. Yes, there we go. Two nice green ticks. It's happy with that. And it lists 88 channels, so obviously why the ITV only saw a fairly small number of them clearly indicates that perhaps these things are better done properly. Blimey, don't know where channels come channel numbers that come for the 5000s. That's probably. Oh, actually, what is that? Why will it be doing that? And also, those channel numbers starting with 5000 are the only ones that ITV saw as well. I wonder if that's significant. Hey, something's jumping up and down here. I think it wants my attention. Let's have a look. Incompatible VLC. Oh no, seriously? Honestly, are you kidding me? Cannot find libVLC media tracks. Get in Ooh, wah, wah, ooh. I don't like the sound of that at all. I'm not happy with that. Maybe VLC needs an update. Shall we try? I thought my VLC was up to date. Perhaps it wasn't. Let's get it moving. What version is this anyway? 209. How dare you besmirch my up-to-dateness of VLC? I suppose there's no update, is there? We probably should. 2.2.1. Oh, bloody hell. Yeah, okay, let's get that done then. VLC quit unexpectedly. Fantastic. Yeah, it's going to get into one of these loops where it's just not going to start properly. Okay, let's try the HDHomerun software again. Maybe the update of the VLC will be enough to at least stop it from complaining. One thing that does seem to happen on my Mac, and perhaps more often when I'm screen recording, is that things just start crashing all over the place, like this. That's really something I could do without. It's probably so. Let's be honest here. That's probably not the fault of the software. It's probably something I'm doing wrong. So yeah, we're getting nowhere with this. So what I think we should do is perhaps scoot over to the PC and try it over there. Okay, and here we are on the PC. I've just set this up as a VNC session purely just to make it slightly easier to capture the screen. But what we are doing, of course, is we need to go to www.myhdhomerun.com because there will doubtless be some software to download. Must admit, very nice, clean application here. It's like, nice, straightforward website. Nothing complicated about it. All your options right in front of you. Although talking about Windows, Mac OS, Android, and Linux, and not mentioning iOS is obviously a key a gap in the in the setup. But I'm sure they'll mention that later. There is a piece of software, I can't remember what it's... Actually, that is one of the interesting things about iOS, if you are rocking an iPad or an iPhone. The official HDHomerun software only seems to be available in the States. It doesn't seem to be available in Europe. As far as I can see, the US iOS application is actually a rebadged version of Elgato's ITV software again. So there's obviously something, like some nice hand-holding going on between the two companies. And that's fine. There's obviously compatibility there, so that's good. Yeah, so it seems that I think European users are kind of left to scrabble around with third-party alternatives. I think I was reading yesterday of something called InfiniTV or something like that is used on iOS and is definitely Homerun compatible, so that might be an avenue to explore. But as we get our software installed, detect and configure devices, yeah, let's let it do that. I might actually ask it to go scanning again. This is good. This is a very familiar piece of software. Again, this looks very much like the old version. So, again, modern hardware should be able to perform a reasonably quick scan without having to lumber its way through every single frequency on the dial. Usually, once it's found one frequency, it can actually pick up the what is it called? I want to say network information table, which should theoretically basically say, okay, there are 7 other frequencies you need to look at, and here they are. And it basically saves it a lot of time. It means you doesn't have to bounce around and check every single frequency to see what it can find. And obviously, sometimes you might want that, so that approach is not completely invalid. But you can see it's found 96 programs now, which is more than the 88 it found at first. Oh, up to 107. 108 strikes me as probably about the right kind of number for something approaching real channels that you can see on a TV, or at least on a computer, because quite a lot of the channels broadcast on DTT in this country end up being sort of like not quite real channels. They're basically just pages of text that say, oh, this is coming soon, or this has moved, or this has gone, or something like that. So the actual number of real moving television channels that you can see is obviously substantially less than the number of programs that a blind scan will find. And again, of those 108 programs, you'll find that sort of like 7 or 8 of those programs can be the same channel at different times of day. Not the same channel name, but the same slot, say, within the multiplex. So you might find that 24 hours worth of moving video capacity is shared between, say, 3 hours of a music channel in the morning, 4 hours of a dirty naked women channel in the middle of the night, and something else during the day. So again, it makes it seem like you actually have more channels than you do. I mean, yes, you do, but just they're not all broadcasting simultaneously. This looks like, by the way it's slogging away here, that it is actually wearing the hair shirt and is laboriously checking every single frequency. Now, I could cancel that, but it's a shame there's no button that says, like, no, you found them all, you don't need to keep going. But it appears to have found pretty much all the channels that we would expect of it. So that's good. We say finish. It updates the configuration. Oh, then it goes away. Ah, there we go. HDHomerun view. Okay, ignore everything I said. Yes, this is going to work fine. Now, obviously, this is a VNC session, which is why it's a little bit lumpy. So perhaps look over here for the quiet. So perhaps look over here for a live version of it on the screen. Now that's interesting, but the aspect ratio of that is obviously quite wrong. So, oh no, that's rather nice. So we seem to have a. Hold on, let's get this out of the way. Oh, I've got 2 copies of it. Right, just the one will do. So, yes, this is quite nice. We seem to have a nice illustrated program guide. That's really quite nice. I had not expected that. But this aspect ratio is not right, and that needs to be addressed immediately. So let's find out, what do we do? Right mouse click, buttons, anything? Full screen, config, help. I don't know how to fix this. What does that do? Yes, that does full screen, but again, it's not what we want. No, we definitely have an aspect ratio problem here. I'm not a fan of that at all. But, fair enough, we can see. I am quite impressed by the rather colourful program guide. I suppose there's a full screen EPG, is there? You can see the wonderful and various and dreadful television channels available in the UK. But at least they're free, right? Okay, these are the HD channels, so these must be the right aspect ratio, surely. Thinking. No, it's not doing anything. This is somewhat less than perfect. Yeah, something is definitely not installed properly here, I'm sure of it. It's showing me all these, showing me the channel names quite correctly, but gets no further. So, let's go back to Windows Media Center. Because now that we have the software installed, it should see it as a tuner, which means that I can configure it, and once that's done, there should be almost no problem. This process may take several minutes. Yes, it does. We have some results, which is that Windows Media has quite correctly seen a digital satellite tuner, and again, that's a network tuner as well. Let me prove this to you. This is the actual Windows box in question. This is an Intel NUC box, a tiny little computer. Straightforward HDMI output, a couple of USB ports on the back, nothing else. There's nothing else to it. And one of the things that makes it really nice to use as a media center, quite aside from the fact that it's quite small, and it even comes actually with a VESA mount so that you can actually mount it on the back of your television, is that it's got an infrared port built in as well, which means that if you happen to have, say for example, a Windows Media Center remote, and this is an old one, I just happen to have this lying about, then you can use it with the machine. You don't have to have like a big clunky off-board external IR sensor, the type of which I think I do actually have around here somewhere. Actually, yes, here it is. So look at this. I mean, it's a monster thing. It's just enormous. I mean, it's like virtually bigger than the size of the computer that you'd plug it into in the first place. So having that IR sensor built into the actual PC itself is really quite useful. It's like, again, just another thing that makes it like a nice choice. But as I say, back to the results here. So yes, digital satellite. That's a network tuner as well. So that's really handy because obviously my satellite signals are downstairs. I'm upstairs at the moment. And I don't want to, have to like drill holes through my ceiling and try to route satellite cables into this room. So having a network tuner for satellite downstairs means that the satellite signal can be basically turned into IP packets, can travel through the home plug. And it's like it just like moves its way through the network as if it was just IP data, which of course it is. Perfect. It just makes life a whole lot simpler. So yes, we will configure television with these results. As you can see, where it says there, digital terrestrial 2 tuners, that's the HDHomerun. That's what it can see. And again, that's on the network. That's not connected to that machine at all. So that gives you a great deal of flexibility in where you have your incoming signals, where you place your media PC. And obviously, this as a media PC could be right underneath your television, or this could be in a server room somewhere, and you could be actually watching the Windows Media Center through an extender. There's no problem having it in kind of any configuration that you like. You don't necessarily need the main machine that's doing all the recording in your TV room if you don't want that. Or, obviously what is most easily and most available and is crucially pretty much the only thing that's still supported is the Xbox 360. You can easily set up an Xbox 360 to look at your media center. And it's actually a really nice solution. It is genuinely a shame that Microsoft is pretty much abandoning support for Windows Media Center in Windows 7. That's a bit of in Windows 10. Windows 7 is not affected by this announcement. So while it's scanning, we'll take a quick look actually at the web page. This is actually quite interesting because this new generation of hardware was seems to have grown up through a Kickstarter campaign that good people of Silicon Dust have put together, and finished now. 3,969 backers, $370,000 pledged, which is fantastic. And if you have a read through this page, actually, what you'll see is that there's a great degree of thought has gone into the idea of saying, like, well, people want media centers, they want to have their programs recorded, but they don't necessarily need a PC to do that. If you have a network tuner, if this device is available on the network, then you could have a NAS box doing your TV recording. You don't necessarily need a full PC to do that. And that's part of what the solution that was kind of suggested in this most recent round of Kickstarter. But obviously, what's been most interesting, at least from a European perspective, was that this Kickstarter was the first time that it was that the new version of the Homerun was talked about, the DVB-T and T2 compatible one. So, as you say, very good for viewers in UK and Australia. And as you can see from here, $199 was the asking price for that, which works out to, I don't know what it works out to. So let's ask xe.com what they think and how much $199 is, because I can't convert things in my head. $199 in English currency, £126.58. So, if you were interested in backing the Kickstarter, then that would be one avenue to get the hardware. As you can see, that did actually also include a 1-year subscription to the DVR service, so it's not directly comparable. But as you can see, HDHomerun unit ships June, and It is just towards the end of June today, and actually I didn't get my box through the Kickstarter. I got it from the good old ever reliable Amazon. Actually, Amazon had these items up on had them up on their site for a couple of weeks now, but they've obviously been out of stock. It says those you can pre-order if you want to, and luckily enough, they just happened to get their first deliveries in yesterday, so that's how I got mine anyway. While we're waiting for that, it's not Infinity TV, it's InstaTV is the application for the iPad, which is apparently supposed to do this. Free application, but I believe you pay, there's an in-app purchase of I think £12.99 for HDHomerun support, £8.99. Okay, that's fine, so I'll give this a try, see if it works. There we go. After a bit of a false start, it couldn't immediately see the home run, but yes, that's what we want. Countries and regions, interesting. Next, TV guide source, custom source, community list. Curious. Not worried about that at the moment. Yeah, that seems to be quite alright. So now we've got so now both the iPad and the Media Center PC are both using this Homerun at once. That's fine. This InstaTV seems to have some interesting options as regards an EPG. You can have a community list, which is community put together by people in various areas of the States, not much use in Europe. Or you can feed it an XML TV file, which is quite handy, and is a whole separate discussion, as there are some quite good XML TV pieces of software that will obtain TV guide listings in various underhand and not so underhand manners. So XML TV support, definitely an interesting thing for a software like this, and could be something that's actually quite useful. I see, and this seems to be what costs the money. You purchase playback support, but it seems to play television perfectly okay, so perhaps this is for just recording only. Right, so as you can see, we have 135 channels found, which can only be a good thing. So what I should have now is some hideous hybrid of satellite and digital terrestrial channels all jammed together in one beautiful setup. So let's see how that goes. Yeah, that looks about right. See, we have we don't have every single channel here, but then again, that's not necessarily the end of the world. There's clearly a few channels missing by the look of it, and some with no data available, which again is something that needs a certain amount of fiddling whenever you install a new tuner on Windows Media Center. There's a certain amount of fiddling and mucking about that is required before you go there. But if I bring up BBC One HD, that will definitely be coming across from the HDHomerun. It takes a few seconds to start up and start playing, but hopefully once it does, it should be okay. There we go. Digital subtitling on HD channels is a little bit funky and off, but apart from that, as you can see, that's working. That's coming from Tuner 1 on the HDHomerun. Oh, actually, I lost the signal when I moved that, so I'll try to make sure I don't move it again. If I ask this to show me a channel as well, this will be an interesting proof of concept, because that will show us basically streaming two channels to two different devices. And there we go. Turn the volume down. Audio boost, that's interesting. How do I make this full screen? Oh, yes, there we go. So, there you go. You see we've got two lights now. So that's streaming, moving video to the iPad, moving video to the Windows PC. So basically that's it. That's what this does. The intention is that this is 2 digital terrestrial network tuners, and any device that's on your network basically can access them. That's the point. That's what it's for. And I think, having got that far and having talked for what is doubtless much too long, I'll call a halt to it there. If you are interested in Windows Media Center, I'll probably be making some kind of more videos about that at some point in the future, because I do love it so. But for now, thank you for watching, and if you've got any questions or any comments, please leave them in the comments. I will find some way to respond. I don't use Google Plus, so I can't necessarily reply directly, but I can always make some kind of video response or something like that. So if there's anything that is interesting or comes to mind, please shout. And thanks again for watching. See you soon.